Coop, one of the things that really stood out for me this round was how far many of the young players have improved this season. And we'll cover them off sort of as we start to go through the sides, but, mate, the locomotive, Penrith, still powering along. So at the moment they've got...
Fourth spot.
Incredible. 280, Melbourne favourites. Penrith are into $4. Raiders $6, Dogs at $6, and after that, I think the next line is the Sharks at $23. Yeah. So it's really starts. I think the Broncos have gone from 9-1 to 26 to 1. We'll talk about that in a second. Yep. But on the weekend, out of those top four contenders, the big four, who was the best? Who do you think was the best performing team?
I thought the Dogs were. I thought the Dogs, because there was a bit of pressure around can they play in wet weather.
Yep.
And I thought it was a bit of a mystery, their wet weather form, because defensively they got their line speed, they got smaller bodies that move around, and if you hold the ball, kick well and defend well in wet weather, you should win, right? Yep. So they've got the game style to do it, but they executed it perfectly. Yep. Their kicking game through Burton was great. Defensively, they just outworked the opposition. And there was a bit of swagger and arrogance about their performance, about, how dare you question we can't play in the wet?
Yep.
I'll show you exactly.
What really impressed me, Coops, is given the fact that we're talking that they'd been struggling in the wet, I half expected this game they'd just pull everything in a little bit, but they actually didn't. They kept advancing the football, tic-tac-toeing with their short ball playing, but it was more controlled. It was a more disciplined ball movement.
Well, we spoke about, I think it's the Tigers, where their short passing in wet weather didn't suit them against the Tigers, but that didn't take into account their execution of short passing, right? So what they did, I think, they didn't change their game plan. They just doubled down on executing the pass better. Yeah. And some of their hands in wet conditions was very, very good.
Yeah, very, very good. Burton and Galvin were both impressive in their kick combination for totally different reasons. I've never seen a bloke hit a ball like Burton.
Yeah, so
I remember Ricky coming in, Coops, when he came in the late 80s, and he revolutionised left to right passes and the long torpedoes. He was something else. This bloke, I've never seen anyone hit a ball like it.
They got good balance, because you know that Burton can launch from the yardage and have that long kicking dominance, and what Galvin can do with a short form of it, their ability just to play the right play at the right time. I'm really impressed with what Burton's done this year. His best year by a country mile.
Yeah.
He is knocking on the door of the rep jersey with number 6 every time he keeps playing. This kick here, that is one of the best I've ever seen.
Just on Burton, Coops, you're so right. His improvement in the last 12 months in that 6 jersey. When he went to last year, when he first started there as a full-time 6, you could see that the number on his jersey weighed heavily on him. He was thinking, do I steer the side? What do I do? And he built his game going forward bit by bit. Look up. If I like what I see, I'm going to attack him. If I don't, I'm going to give it to Villiamy early. But you can see from there he's just built his game, and at the moment he's firing. Yeah,
and he also knows when to use his strengths around him. You got Bronson, Cherry, Kickow. And the thing that Galvin's bought is he knows when to get the ball to Crichton at the right time.
Yeah,
so now he's got Preston and Crichton on the right, you've got Kickow and Cherry on the left, and those halves are doing a good job. And Bailey Hayward starting at number 9 and Reid Marnie on the bench, it almost seems like that's the way it's going to operate for the rest of the season.
Coop, we had that feeling all the back end of this year, that was going to be inevitable. You felt that. You felt it with Galvin and Toby, and you felt it with Bailey Hayward and Reid Marnie.
Yep.
Look, talking about young players, we said there's going to be a theme a little bit here about how young players are improving and emerging. And when we talk about Penrith here, Blaise Tuilagi he's just improving rapidly, out of sight, in how he forms combination with Nathan, but also just a few things on the weekend, Coop, I hadn't seen from him. Because when you think of Blaise, you think of him as first and foremost a runner. Yep. But there were a few little moments, I think it was the first try. He does just a really nice little pump fake, which is the domain of the experienced playmaker. What I mean? That's a beautiful bit of playmaking.
Where do you reckon he's got that from?
Well, I reckon the bloke alongside him might be showing a few tricks and extras.
So at training, when you're running sort of your left edge versus your right edge, you always pick up what the opposition half does, or in your team, because you're trained against the other side. And there's no doubt that when Blaise Tuilagi is on the left edge, defending against Nathan on the right, he can see all these tricks coming in, looking in to play out, double pump fake, the old fake long play short.
Yep.
There's just a lot of things that are creeping into his game that I can categorically say he never had before he arrived at Penrith.
No doubt.
And the learning by osmosis of around Nathan and seeing the art of ball playing, he's kept that athleticism and that running game, but he's adding these lot of little spices of nuance that you can only learn by practicing and seeing someone else do it.
He looks like he looks comfortable in that system now.
Yeah.
And I can understand when he first went in how difficult that would have been, because we've stated a few times on this, the Penrith attack is a very complex one. There's lots of moving parts and a lot of it is an exact science. And I can only imagine him going in there firstly, and he's like, honestly, his eyes would have been rolling the back of his head. He's trying to learn this system and trying to learn this in a lot of ways, a new position at this new level. But he just looks tremendous. And even on the weekend, Coops, a number of times Nathan got caught in the last. And earlier in the season, that responsibility was given to Blaze and he struggled with. Yep. The other night against Newcastle, he took numerous occasions. Yep. He took the sixth tackle and just put the ball where it needed to go.
And they have bought, him and Casey McLean have bought a point of difference in the Penrith attack, because now Nathan, who would have probably lent towards Martin, To'o, Edwards on the right, he's now leaning to the left because he knows he's got this young excitement, enthusiasm that can add a spark.
On Nathan, he set up a try before half-time against Newcastle, which he sunk into the line, almost identical like to last week. And you just see that there. And I know people watching go, well, what's the difference there? But to understand the subtlety, that half-second delay, boom, it just creates that space, doesn't it?
I think it's Cogger that turns in on the runner. And, we always talk about getting to your target defender and stopping. The reason why we say get to your target defender and square up is when you square up, the player will lean in and it almost catapults everyone else to lean in. When you don't square up and you run across, it allows the defender to slide off and get into that tackle. Do you think they can go on with it? Do you think Penrith can?
Yes, I do. I would have Penrith and Melbourne as equal favourites.
Well, let's say Penrith finish fourth and they play anyone who finishes fourth, Canberra or the Dogs. You give them a chance of winning, don't you? If they win that first week and go straight to a prelim, it doesn't matter who comes through that door. They're a big chance of making another grand final.
Coops, Isaiah Yeo's a big one. One thing Penrith are very good at is that the club doesn't leak information. Mm-hmm. So at the moment, no one really knows how serious Isaiah Yeo's shoulder is at the moment. And just the way it landed, it looked awkward. I just have the sense it's a little bit more serious than everyone thinks. Yeah. We're not talking about it. I agree with you. It doesn't matter who Penrith play, first week of the finals, I'm backing them.
Yep.
Melbourne, the way they've just subtly adjusted their football without Jerome, you can see that Harry has become the centrepiece of their football team. And geez, he's playing good football. He's playing halfback.
Yep. I like two parts to it. It was a couple of weeks against the Roosters. No Pappenhausen, no Munster, and Hughes goes down in that game. All he basically said, everyone just pile in on the ruck. When it's a blown ruck, you become support runners, not ball players. And he set up the victory with that performance. And then it was obvious from word go the other night that he was out and running. He didn't wait for the game to get fatigue. He got out and he's being crafty about it. And we've seen De Silva, telling De Silva, overplay their hand at dummy half. Harry Grant's one of the few that doesn't overplay his hand. Sometimes he bounce out left and right, but what it does, it encourages Tyron Wishart and Munster to become ball runners.
It does.
As opposed to sitting back and waiting for the long pass. Once he moves, both those halves go from, I'm not worried about the outside, I'm now running into a hole. And once, Stefano, King, once there's a little bit of ruck speed, he's by far the best to take advantage of Harry Grant.
And could talk about Harry Grant and number nines and how that role has evolved and continues to evolve. It's worthwhile saying this. To give the history of that position, the dummy half, the hooker position, give the history, was the sole role of the dummy half was to win the scrum. Get the feet across and win the scrum. That's what they were judged on.
60s, 70s.
60s, 70s and into the 80s, right? Into the 80s. My first off-season at Newcastle Knights, which was 1989, is that, mate, the hooker was still competing for the ball. They practiced scrums, competing for the,
Did you do any
loose
of it?
head. Do I
You
do
get in
any
the
of it?
scrum and do
Yeah,
anything,
sure,
yeah.
sure. No, well,
You competed in a couple?
Well, it's funny, Coops, because what happened was I still remember going into that 1990 season, that 89 pre-season, and Alan McMahon come forward and said, righto, we're going to change something, right? From now on, our dummy halves are going to be moving dummy halves because your role for the hook in the old days in dummy half was just fire it
Pass.
off the
Tackle and
ground.
pass,
Don't
yep.
stand,
Yep.
just straight off the ground and let the ball go. Benny Elias changed everything, and suddenly they started to go, righto, let's get the 9 operating as a moving dummy half. And what we're going to do, we're going to double down. We're actually going to turn our halves, a number of our halves, into hookers.
So Benny was the original?
Benny was the original.
Yep.
In my opinion, he was the first one to really sort of be getting out of dummy half and playing. Because Warren Ryan says he was our halfback. He and Blocker were their halfbacks because they had Gary Freeman and Mick Neal, who were more runners and tenacious competitors.
And then off the back of Benny's, some halfbacks were being picked at number 9 in rep football, right? Like because they wanted that creativity and craft.
You get the creativity. It was never a requirement of dummy half. And then after Benny, you had the Walters brothers, so Steve Walters, right? So Steve was very different to Benny in the fact that Boxhead was all about power, getting out and his strength, and he had a very strong running game. His brother Kerrod was different to Steve again. Kerrod, if I had to compare him to anyone, I'd say like he wasn't as express as Damien Cook, but like this.
You're telling me that Kerrod was a beach sprinter?
Really
good.
Unbelievable on sand. But this is what he did. He would get out, and because Alf and his brother Kev played flat, whenever Kerrod would get the ball and get up and go, they just turned into ball runners, like we were saying before about Harry Grant.
But the speed at which Kerrod got out was a point of difference, right? Like
It was.
He was, Benny at the time would come out with a little bit of craft and deception. A bit like David Cook. When he went, he went.
He went.
Yeah, and everyone else had to follow,
And then you had Denny Badiris. Now, when you talk about guys, Denny came to Newcastle out of the Australian schoolboy as a talented young playmaker who just got weighed down by the responsibility of having to push the side around the paint.
So he was a 7, Danny?
He was a 7. He came as a 7 or a 6. They tried, you know what? They tried to play him everywhere. They tried him in the centres. They tried him at fullback. They put him at 13 for a little bit. He could never find his spot. And we went into a semi-final once and we had a lot of injuries, and Malcolm really said, let's just throw the young bloke in there, see what he does. And he found his position because get out of dummy half and play, but he didn't have to steer the side around the park.
And then Cameron Smith took it to another level, right?
And then you'll meet Cameron, of you blokes. And the thing about it was, Coops, I can imagine that when you transitioned into being a halfback, to have a 9 alongside you who get out and play a little bit of half itself, what a difference it makes.
I think if we're sort of giving advice to any young dummy half coming through and watching clips of Badiris and Smith, the one consistent thing they do is they hold the ball in 2 hands.
Yeah.
You hold the ball in 2 hands and think it's a magic wand, and defenders stop. Like when Cameron Smith used to get out and throw a pass or a kick, the pause and deception he had stopped defenders, and that was the opportunity he did. But he couldn't stop if he had it in one hand. He stopped because he put it out there and people looked at it and they froze, and that was the pass that he threw or the kick that he did.
On Harry, talking about how Melbourne have centralised their attack, and it was really interesting watching the other night. And it was their best night performance. I've had people say to me, oh, mate, you're always talking about night performance today. Night football is very, very different. It's a different style of football you play. And the adjustment Melbourne made the other night, with not having Jerome there, the way they went back to really centralising, and the more momentum created, the straighter they play. I think this is a really good example where suddenly gets on the front and you see them just, perhaps drills through the middle, all through the middle, back through the middle, everything just going through the middle, winning the speed of the ruck, fast play of the ball. Don't worry, the more momentum we've got, the straighter we're going to just keep playing.
And it's a good sign if you're a Storm fan, because playing the Broncos, historically I know this through Craig Bellamy, when he gets to this time of year, he wants to start ironing out the creases and start playing their best football. And they didn't finesse it. They didn't go round. They just went through the front door and Harry Grant became the best player. So they are sharpening their sword for September because of the way they're starting to fine-tune their performances.
Coop, there's a little bit of train spotter stuff, and it comes off Harry play here. We'll show it in a second. But at the moment, I think we've seen it with Melbourne, but I've seen 1 or 2 other teams do it. A very like the clever teams that are using a little loophole in the rules that I think has to be adjusted in some way, shape, or form, and that's the kick for the man to the corner. Now we were Tarry the other night, right? And at first you go, oh, what was he thinking there? Well, okay, what's happening now is they're exploiting this loophole where when you kick it to one of your best leapers, like Xavier, no one's going to out-jump Xavier Coates. If that's pinpoint, he goes up, he catches the ball above the defender can't hit him while he's in the air.
A couple of examples on the weekend, right?
Mate, saw Teague Wilton, the penalty.
Yeah.
You know, this is just a loophole that the clever players are starting to exploit. Like that one on the Teague Wilton on the weekend, like that cannot be a penalty try.
Yeah. So the ball goes up here, Wilton gets it, both team players competing, and coaches will say this. Coaches will say if you're a winger in that position, if you're Tyrell Sloan, I'm pretty certain that Flanagan is saying if you can't catch it, you do not let the opposition catch it.
Yep.
Right? So what needs to happen here is the game needs to adjust its rules to the point that as long as the player is not in a dangerous position...
Totally agree.
It's okay. Because if right now, if you've got Xavier Coates, Mark Nawonga-Netawase, anyone else who is super athletic in the air, and I'm a halfback, I'm kicking it in the end goal, I put it at the highest point over a Brian To'o or a smaller winger, and if he cannot physically get his hands up to it, he's got two options. One, knock the ball out, or two, tackle the person in the air.
That's right.
And it's a penalty try.
Coops, when you put the ball in the air, it was a 50-50 contest. Now, if you put it in the right spot and they get their timing right, it's 75% the attack way.
Yeah.
Right? The defender has almost been... It's so much of his power to diffuse that has been taken away. And, you know, Xavier goes up. Yeah, I mean, the timing, you're waiting for his feet to hit the ground so you can tackle him again. Yeah. Otherwise, you hit him in the air and it's a penalty try. Yeah.
It's an easy fix. As long as the player is not in a dangerous position, it's okay. That's as far as I can say.
Broncos, I mean, incredible. That was
in the space of 30 seconds.
Talk about an active goal. Geez, I tell you, an expensive intercept.
Yeah.
So Ezra throws the intercept.
Broncos could have scored, by the way. And they were up for it, Matty. Like, the Broncos were up for the contest in the first 20-odd minutes. Like, they were ready to go. And in the space of a 30-second turnaround, their season just went up.
So what do you think? So they're saying Ezra and Sue and Colbo, at least 6 weeks, they're sensing season over.
Yep.
It's going to, well, I think mathematics is going to get close. Renault hoping to be back for the finals.
Yep.
Right up.
So he's 4 weeks. Even then, with his history of hamstring injuries, he's going to be slightly off his extreme best because he would be afraid not to tear it again.
Right up. Well, okay, we're talking about Melbourne. Have lost Jerome and they've adjusted their football.
Yep.
How do Broncos adjust their football?
Well, Ben Hunt goes to 7.
Yep.
I wouldn't move Billy Walters. I think he's doing okay at 9. He's got a point of difference, right?
I agree.
So can someone come off the bench and do a tag team number 9 effort there? I don't know who's on their list in terms of their depth chart, but I feel like if you've got Reece Walsh and you've got Ben Hunt, you almost need like a young, athletic excitement number 6. Even if he hasn't played, even if he's inexperienced, I feel like with Ben Hunt, getting back to that, a bit like the Nathan Cleary system. Let Ben Hunt play both sides of the field and let 2 athletic guys take advantage of what Ben Hunt does.
Yeah, Reece and...
Yeah,
I agree, Coops. I totally agree with you. I think if they try to play just a watered-down version of how they're playing or attempting to play now, it's not going to work for them.
I wouldn't move Katoni Staggs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't move any of their outside backs. They need to find... It's pretty hard to do, but I don't know what their depth chart is. But someone that is fast with footwork and maybe inexperienced, but give them an opportunity, and a lot of responsibility goes on Ben, and Patrick Carrigan becomes the ball-playing 13 more often now.
A bit like you.
Yep.
I agree with the Coops. I think if you went for a really young, fast, athletic 6, who it is, I'm not sure what Madge does. I think that's the way to go. And allow, Ben to look after the bread and butter, push them around the park, and Reece and he, just try to open the field up a little bit. And
Are they done, the Bronx?
I want to see them this week. I mean, the temptation is to go...
It's easy to say they're gone.
But I want to see them this week. Sometimes you just don't... It's so strange, Coop. Sometimes you look and there's injuries in a side and you say, my God, that's the worst thing that can happen. But suddenly the change of formula just does something to spark. Yep. I mean, a couple of the players who have been playing within themselves might look at that injury and go and be sitting there going, well... unless I elevate myself, we're gone. It might just put a fire under a few of the blokes.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how Reece Walsh goes, because there's a narrative that says that he needs to tone down his performances. That's when everyone was in the team, and get it right? But now it's almost like, okay, Reece, you've been trying to get your best football and get that right balance. This team needs you to get it right now. Now go for it.
Yeah.
Go out there and play like you're about to
That's
be the
right.
dominant player, but I need you to be 9 times out of 10 getting that pass on the money. Because if he starts missing the mark and going completely AWOL, there's no chance. But I feel like someone with Reece Walsh in their team who can get it perfect. Like if he catches 5 for a month here, you're then going, yeah, maybe the Broncos have something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, he's the key in that
Opportunity.
Yep.
What about, mate, talking about fullbacks catching fire, Tedesco. Is this Tedesco's finest season?
Yeah, I think it is. I think like his ability to continually improve, and he gets 200 metres a game and he sets up 2 tries.
Ball playing.
Yep, breaks, tackles, support play, prototype fullback that gets it done at both ends of the field. I think he's the Dalian favourite, and I think he wins it. And this is off the back of he had a great year last year, missed it by a point to Jerome Hughes, and that was off the back of criticism the year before. Now, he is arguably the Dalian winner, but he's still not the best fullback in the competition because you've got Dylan Edwards doing his thing.
Yeah.
But he's had a hell of a year.
Let's talk about like young players on the improve. We'll talk about Hugo in a second. He really impressed me on the weekend, Hugo. Sammy Walker, Coops, when young players with great instincts which developed in the backyard, when they go into like an NRL or this sort of level of football and they're given a football education and taught structure, it can actually feel like a straitjacket at first, but eventually it's going to make them a better player. And you're seeing that now with Sam. It's like instinct and education coming together.
Yeah, I think the number one thing when Sam arrived at the Roosters was that is like generational talent for a halfback. The chip and chase, the long passes, but he had to fill up some of the foundation stuff that if the game is 12-all with 5 minutes to go, he had to learn that craft. But his performance on the weekend, I said this about Cameron Smith holding the ball in 2 hands. Sam Walker buys time with his movements. He runs across the field and waits for a winger to come up and he throws the ball over the top. He looks inside for someone, bounces back out the right, and that's created space. When he does that short kicking game, what most halves do is they run across the field and kick. He steps off his foot, lets the defence come up slightly, then kicks it back through a hole. Like, he buys an extra second of time for his decisions by doing some cool, funky things.
I've rarely seen a bloke who just will trust himself to get it right eventually. Because you'll see him sometimes just look like he's meandering down cul-de-sacs and he'll turn around and go the other way. Hang on, not much there. Hang on, oh, that's where the ball's got to get. Do I throw it or do I kick it? And he'll just come up with the right option.
And then the problem when he runs into a cul-de-sac, he feels like, and this is the next development, is he feels like he has to come up with a play in that cul-de-sac. No, you don't. Just throw it to someone else to take the tackle.
You impressed by Hugo?
Yeah, smart kid. I'll tell you what, I think it was the Mark Nawanga-Netawase second try. Straight ball playing, arrow direct, created the 3-on-2 for Tedesco.
Good.
Like, there's enough signs that that kid understands footy and he's learning pretty quickly. And if he can use his strengths and complement what Sam does and stay in the game when Sam's doing his thing, I think that's a good thing.
I really like the fact you can see he's got really strong fundamentals as far as his skill and awareness is concerned. One is the one you said where he went up early and he sunk in like Nathan did. Sunk, wait, there we go, let it go. But other times in that first half, Coops, he's getting the ball and he's going, well, the ball's got to get there quick and just go ping. And it was getting like 20-metre passes that were hitting guys just perfectly in the right spot. Right, finally, to round it off, young guys on the up and up, Ethan Strange. Man, beautiful left-sided player. They tell me the other side of the field's his preference, but that's Jamal's
even with that left foot.
I know, even that sweet
I want
left
to
foot.
see his right.
I know, that's right. He must like the left foot away. I don't know, but that's what apparently Ricky has said, that the right side is his preference. But Ricky said after the game, said, this kid should be selected for the Ashes to go away. There's a lot of spots there, but I would love to see him get a start.
Yeah, I think he might be the extra half, if that makes sense, like the player number 23 or something. He's just got a determination and a grit that you're like, you know what, if you've got this type of courage for contact, want to compete on every play, you can teach him the tricks. Like you can just teach halfbacks that kind of stuff. I like that he came up against Cherry Evans and he didn't finesse his football. He went, okay, Cherry, you're an older halfback. You got some question marks in your defence. I'm going to run the ball. Yep. I'm going to see if you can tag me. He scored 3 tries. Like it was, even Turbo came off sideways. The art of playing straight and direct as a first receiver, got over the advantage line quickly, looked up, Turbo came off sideways, told a lie to the left-hand side and just bounced off that left foot like he had lightning in it. The other thing I like about him being a young half is that when you come in the game, sometimes you can have some deficiency in your defence and coaches go, righto, we're going to go straight at young Matthew Johns this week, get stuck into him and knock him around.
Yeah, good luck.
Mate, Ethan Strange doesn't take a backward step. Like, he's physical. You used to get dominated.
You just have a talk to Gordon. What used to happen when he used to run into this left shoulder?
What, run straight through for a try?
You mate.